welcome to another episode of Peace Lutheran Evangelical Church's Sermon Podcast. Today, we're talking about Luke chapter 13, verses 10 through 17, in which Jesus heals someone and is then rebuked by a synagogue leader for healing on the Sabbath. Listen until the end to find out the surprising answers this story holds to some of life's questions, including how it can help us deal with the heaviness of grief.
So for 18 years, I measured my life in inches. How many inches closer to the ground my spine curved each day. How many inches I had to crane my neck just to catch a glimpse of someone's face. But on that Sabbath morning, Jesus measured me differently. Not by my limitations, but by my lineage as Abraham's daughter. Let me tell you what really happened that day. I was in that synagogue like every Sabbath, sitting in my usual spot in the back. You know how it is. When you can't stand up straight, you learn to make yourself small in other ways too. I'd gotten pretty good at being invisible. 18 years of practice will do that to you. But Jesus, he saw me. And not just the bent over, broken version of me that everyone else saw. He called me forward to the center of the synagogue where everyone could see. Now, I hadn't been the center of attention in, 18 years. My heart was pounding as I shuffled toward him, still looking at the floor because that's all I could look at. And then he said those words that changed everything. "Woman, you are set free from your ailment." And he laid his hands on me. Now, we're part of the Jewish tradition where freedom means a lot to us. We always remember when our ancestors were slaves in Egypt and when God freed them to go back home. We remember what that meant. Freedom isn't just physical healing for us, it's a real freeing from everything that keeps us bent over in life. I heard you just pray to send your kids to school and set them free to learn and to grow. That's the kind of freedom that we're talking about here. Freedom to be, freedom to live, freedom that only God can give. And it was Jesus who showed that to me. Let me tell you, standing up straight for the first time in 18 years is, imagine seeing the sky after living in a basement. Suddenly I could see faces, actual faces, without craning my neck. I could see the ceiling of the synagogue, the light coming through the windows, the expressions on people's faces. And you know what I did? I started praising God right there, right then. I couldn't help myself. But apparently that was a problem. The synagogue leader, bless his rule-following heart, was having what my great-nieces would call a moment. He started lecturing the crowd about proper Sabbath protocol. "There are 6 days for work and healing," he announced. "Come back tomorrow if you need a miracle." I wanted to tap him on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me, sir, but did you just tell me to schedule my liberation for Monday through Friday, 9 to 5? Does God's grace have office hours now?" It figures, though, there are plenty of places in life that want to regulate how things work and when things can happen or how they can happen. Schools, synagogues, religious places are no different, really. These places can either liberate and free people for something new and life-giving, or other times they can be places that keep us bent over by their rigid expectations, where things have to happen this way in this precise little box where, heaven forbid, something were to happen outside that box. But Jesus had something to say about that. He looked right at that leader and said, "You hypocrites, doesn't each of you untie your ox or donkey from the stall and lead it to give it water on the Sabbath? And ought not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan bound for 18 long years, be set free from this bondage on the Sabbath day?" A daughter of Abraham, did you catch that? Not the bent over woman, not the crippled lady in the back. A daughter of Abraham. He gave me back my name, my identity, my place in God's family tree. You know what's funny? The synagogue leader was so worried about following the rules that he missed the whole point of the Sabbath. The Sabbath isn't about what you can't do, it's about remembering who you are. It's about rest, restoration, and liberation. It's about God saying you are more than your worth, more than your productivity, more than what's broken about you. Honestly, isn't that what everyone should know? Or what we should want everyone to know? I think about all the people that I've met that day who are still bent over. Not necessarily physically, but bent over by shame or debt or depression, by systems that tell them that they're not good enough, smart enough, worthy enough. I see kids starting school tomorrow, some excited, some terrified, some carrying backpacks that feel heavier than they should because they're filled with worry about fitting in, measuring up, and being enough. And I want to tell them what Jesus told me. You are set free. You are a beloved child of God. You are more than your test scores, more than your mistakes, more than whatever tries to keep you bent over. I see teachers, too, heading back to their classrooms with their own invisible burdens. Underfunded schools, impossible expectations, the weight of caring for everyone else's children. And I want them to hear, too, you are daughters and sons of Abraham. Your worth isn't measured by standardized test results or administrator evaluations. You know, since that day in the synagogue, I've learned to recognize the posture. Right here in congregations and religious communities like this one, I see people bent over by grief, carrying losses that feel too heavy for one person to bear. I recognize that shuffle, that way of moving through the world when your heart is broken. I see church members bent over by health scares, by family conflicts that keep them awake at night, by that nagging fear that whispers, you're not doing enough, giving enough, being faithful enough. And I see some of you bent over by the simple exhaustion of trying to hold it all together, putting on that Sunday morning smile when inside you're barely holding on. Listen to me, Jesus sees you too. He's calling you forward from whatever back row you've been hiding in. You are daughters and sons of Abraham, even on your hardest day, even when you can't stand up straight, even when you think you're invisible, especially then. The synagogue leader eventually got it, you know. After Jesus finished explaining, after the crowd started celebrating, I saw his face change. Sometimes it takes a miracle right in front of us to remember that God's love doesn't follow institutional schedules. Grace doesn't punch a time clock. When I finally walked out of that synagogue, walked, not shuffled, I realized something profound. For 18 years, I'd been looking down, seeing only the ground, the dust, the feet of people passing by. But when Jesus set me free, when I could finally stand tall, I saw the whole world differently. I saw possibility. I saw hope. I saw that God had been there all along, even in those 18 years of being bent over. And here's what I learned. Sometimes we need someone to call us forward, to see us as daughters and sons of Abraham when we can only see ourselves as broken. Sometimes we need someone to remind us that there's no wrong day for liberation, no wrong time for healing, no wrong moment for standing tall. So as kids grab their backpacks tomorrow morning, as teachers unlock their classroom doors, as all of us face whatever tries to keep us bent over this week, remember this: you are seen, you are known, you are set free to stand tall. Because when we stand up straight, really straight, we don't just see the ceiling. We see the sky. We see possibility. We see a God who measures us not by our limitations, but by our limitless belovedness. Stand tall, daughters and sons of Abraham. The Sabbath is made for liberation, and that includes you, too. Amen.
That's this week's episode of Peace Lutheran Sermons podcast. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.